Okay, friends, welcome back to On Location. I'm your host, Zara Durrani. It is such a privilege to be here in Cranbrook, and I'm sitting down with the wonderful Mayor Price. He has had such a public career as a public servant, from not just serving as the mayor of Cranbrook. Monsieur Wayne Price, brings over 30 years of local and provincial government experience to the mayor's chair. He was born and raised in Cranbrook, and he is very passionate about Cranbrook, the folks here, the tourism to Cranbrook, and I'm so grateful that you were able to squeeze us in, make time for us today. Thank you so much, sir, for welcoming us.
My pleasure, and it's very nice to have you here, Zara. We're not squeezing you in. Trust me, we'd make time for you.
I truly appreciate it. I had the opportunity to meet Mayor Price over the weekend. It was pouring outside. We had a very brief introduction, and I had asked individuals before, could I get in an interview with the mayor? And several folks had told me, I'm not going to say who, he's too busy, he's not going to have time, you have to book months in advance. And Mayor Price was very generous, and he said, call the office, and thanks to Missy, here we are. So a bit more about the mayor. He was the fire chief for the city of Cranbrook. 10 years as an inspector and regional fire commissioner for the province of British Columbia. In addition to extensive managerial experience, Wayne brings considerable expertise and knowledge of the city of Cranbrook operations and budget process. So the perfect man for the job. What a resume. You obviously love Cranbrook.
I do. I'm extremely passionate about Cranbrook. I do love Cranbrook. I'm third generation. And certainly, I remember back to the days of my grandfather. My grandfather immigrated from Wales as a teenager, and it was just all about Cranbrook. His whole life was all about Cranbrook. And, now in my, I would say my latter working in days of my career, and giving back to Cranbrook. I think of him often with his passion. I totally understand his passion.
Amazing. Now, I was just sharing some of your bio, but I would love to hear more of your backstory from you. Can you share a bit about your personal background, working in the fire hall? You've given so much of yourself to the city. What led you to this career in public service?
Well, yeah, I think sometimes life just takes you there. Certainly for me it was. I was in construction. Prior to joining the fire service, I was in the piping trades. I was a plumber, pipe fitter, gas fitter. I spent 10 years in the trades. I had an opportunity to join the Cranbrook Fire Department in 1985. It just felt like the right thing to do. I didn't fully understand, what they did in a day, but, and construction at that time, it wasn't that dependable. It was kind of up and down and in and out, and it was a secure job. I had a young family. So I joined the fire department, and, I looked at it as a commitment. If I do something, I'm very committed to it, and I always have been. So when I joined the fire department, it was a commitment to serving the people of Cranbrook, which was very clear to me, but also you committed to my co-workers, especially in the fire service. I think I was really fortunate maybe to get into public service through the fire service. I personally believe that your level of commitment is higher at the start. You have a commitment, a life safety commitment, or possibly a loss of life commitment to your comrades and the people you work with. Okay. And you know that going in, you better understand that. So I had a clear understanding of that. And so I do understand that level of commitment.
And you're working as a team. It's not just you on your own. It's taking care of everyone together. And a big part of that is service. I have so much respect for our firefighters, for our first responders. So that's where your public service career started. What inspired you to run for the mayor of Cranbrook? And was there a moment or an issue that inspired you towards leadership?
I think it was probably when I came back in, it was 2005, the chief's position opened up. I came back to Cranbrook, applied for the chief's position, come back to Cranbrook as the fire chief. And there were some challenges at that time. And nothing better than a challenge, because to me, it's so important that if you're doing something, there has to be some form of accomplishment or achievement. Mm-hmm. That's the satisfaction. You know, to me, money has not ever been in my top 3 priorities when I'm working. You know, it has to be something I believe in, and something I'm passionate about. So, public service. I really learned public service, you know, when I started the fire department, and I spent 15 years in the province. And I think that's where I saw a different side of it. It wasn't just about responding. When I worked for the province, I worked with the fire commissioner's office, as I said, and it was about solutions. So we dealt with problems that the fire services communities had, and, you know, we're dealing with legislation. The particular office I worked in, and the supervisor I had the mentality that we go in and solve the problems. We don't tell them what they need to do. You get a consensus, and that's part of approach. You know, it's about approaching people. How you approach people is the same way you're going to approach the problem. If you're going in my view, of going in for solutions, you come in with a totally different demeanor than you would if you're just going in to fix something.
It's the mindset, and that's the conversation we were having off camera as well, about mindset and work ethic. And I think that's something that anyone watching can take into any line of work. So thank you for sharing that. How has your perspective on the community changed since stepping into your role as the mayor?
I've always been very, very passionate about the community. I think my level of compassion is probably at a higher level now. You see things, you know, probably at a different level. I was very fortunate with my career that when I came back as chief, I worked in the operations. I worked as a manager, so I understood that side. And then, you know, so you do have an understanding of operations. When you are mayor and council, your role is governance. And I was very fortunate too in the fire service, you know, that you have an understanding, you have an organizational chart. You know, there's certain processes you have to follow if you're going to be successful. And I see that now as mayor. You know, oftentimes I think councils can get into trouble, and you do see it, you know, across Canada from time to time, where they talk about dysfunction. And I think that's where the role clarity is missing. Certainly, I'm very fortunate. We have a very, very good council, a very strong council. From A to Z, you know, square pegs, round pegs, we've got them all.
And I hear that they've been like counselors for like over 10 years or something.
Exactly, you know, and I will say this with all sincerity. Every one of these council members is here for the right reason. There's no agenda. Nobody puts themselves up first or trying to, you know, get any gain out of it for themselves or their own pat in the back. This council is truly, every member here has that level of care and compassion for the community. So for me, it's very easy to work with them. They're fantastic to work with. But I think that's where they saw the role clarity as well, is we are at a governance level. Let the administrator oversee the operations, and things run a lot smoother. So,
you know, it's like you get such a warm welcome. And everyone I've talked to about you, and people were asking me, what are the other interviews you're doing? And I mentioned that I'm meeting you, and they're like, you're going to love meeting the mayor. And, you know, no one had a bad thing to, they were just like, he is, you know, so devoted to public service, and also your career that you've had. You know, being the fire hall chief, it's really incredible.
Thank you for that.
I'd love to hear, you know, this is my first time in Cranbrook. So we were talking a bit about golfing earlier. For anyone out there, you know, coming from the coast, coming from Vancouver, and perhaps planning a trip to, you know, planning a summer weekend, long weekend getaway, or during the week getaway, because I really like weekday getaways. What would you suggest to someone, you know, hey, when you come on down to Cranbrook, this is what you must experience? Well,
certainly with what's happened, pardon me, south of the border, I think people are certainly considering, let's stay in Canada, let's stay in BC, let's support, our area now.
100%.
So, you know, I think there's a lot of people, certainly from the lower mainland, you know, they may go into the Okanagan. We see people from the Okanagan, a lot of people from Alberta that do visit the Kootenays, these Kootenays. I would encourage people, you know, certainly from the larger centers, to visit Cranbrook. Come to Cranbrook and see what we have. Golf, we have, I believe, 10 golf courses within a 30-minute drive, and these are quality golf courses.
Wow.
You know, you can golf for as cheap as $65 to $100 a round, cart included. I mean, and I know a lot of people from the coast that golf, or, you know, from Calgary, we're paying a fraction of what they do. So golf, we have, you know, a number of lakes and streams within a 30-minute drive for fishing, boating, swimming. A young couple actually moved in behind me a couple of years ago from Surrey. They'd never been out of Surrey, and their families were from Surrey. They took a chance of moving here for the young lady. She got a promotion, and she took the promotion at the hospital here. Husband was a plumber. He came here so he could... Anyways, he couldn't believe his day, because his day was an 11-hour day driving. He's up at 6:30 in the morning and, you know, getting home, whatever. But at the end of the day, they found a lifestyle that they just couldn't believe in. They'd work all day, drive, go home, and there they are. They're tired out. So that's their week. They got into fly fishing here. They'd never tried it before. They took some lessons. They're out on the river, St. Mary's River, and it's a unbelievable river for fly fishing, or out on some lakes, fly fishing when they get home at work at night until dark. Their whole life changed. I'm a believer in mental health. You know, you look after your mental health first, because if you're not mentally healthy, you can't, you know, help others, so including your family. So certainly a mental health break. This area is absolutely perfect. Like you're talking about the golf course. We've got several golf courses, you know, that are out of the way like that. And literally, the serenity, you hear nothing. You hear nothing. You know, you see wildlife around you. You got, you know, all different feels. You can go through areas that are cooler. And this might sound, you know, a little over the top, but quite frankly, I golf with a group out there fairly regularly, and we'll stop in certain areas and because the fragrances and whatnot. But the biggest thing we find here is how peaceful and quiet it is there. So, you know, I certainly appreciate people that are coming from the city. I've golfed in the cities. You've got traffic, you've got noise. It really isn't, and I'm seeing here too. You know, visit Cranbrook. Maybe visit and have a look at Cranbrook, and then you might want to move to Cranbrook. We see seniors and younger people that now can work from home. You know, it's a really good fit. It talk about, you know, a lifestyle choice. A lot of young people are moving from the Okanagan now because,
especially, you know, if you can work remotely.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and you know, there's quite an influx from the lower mainland now into Vancouver. And let's be honest, Kelowna is probably more like Surrey used to be now. And, you know, because Surrey is probably the biggest community now in the lower mainland. So you see what the impact on the Okanagan. And a lot of people, like this lady you were talking to, I guess, want to get back to that small town feel. Yeah. Were you walking somewhere? I was having lunch. I filmed an episode at Ella's, the Jamaican restaurant, interviewed Aletha. And I'm there, and, you know, in comes in who I didn't even recognize, Sean Penner. He was the parade director. And he's waving at me, and I'm like, I have no, and they're talking, and they're saying hello to each other. And
And they said to me, they're like, Zara, this is Cranbrook. Everyone, you got like close to 25,000 folks, and people are introducing me to so-and-so. You got, and I love that feel. And I've never had that. I was mentioning to you as I came to your office, getting picked up at the airport by Christy from tourism. She's like, don't worry, don't take a cab. Because I was planning on booking a cab. She's like, I'll pick you up. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, I'll pick you.
Yeah.
And then she's like, do you need food? Do you need groceries? You're going to need something. Let's run to the supers. But just going above and just that little, it makes a world of a difference.
Well, and that's just kind of the smaller town. I mean, we're a small city, right? We're hoping we're beyond a town because we want to be a regional center.
Of course, of course.
But you're right there. We've had a number of employees, move into the city over the past number of years. And, what I'll do is we'll get a new employee, a new manager or something, and I can literally take them up to the golf course on the Thursday night if I'm golfing with a group and get them into that golf night. And then after you go for a Pepsi or something after you golf, and you introduce them to the people you know in there. Maybe a Friday after work, there's a local bar. A lot of the guys will go down and have a couple of drinks, take them down and introduce them there. I can guarantee you that individual goes up to that golf course and he's alone on a Friday afternoon. There's a group of those guys there. They're going to invite him to play. They don't forget. Same thing if he walks into, an establishment alone. Yeah. Call him over the table. So, we do like to take care of our own, and then we would consider that if he's a friend of yours, he's a friend of mine, so he's one of ours. Yeah, he's one of our own.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. What kinds of businesses or industries is Cranbrook looking to attract to help diversify the local economy? Yeah,
that's an area that Cranbrook does struggle. We've lost our industrial tax base. We at one time, had not a bad industrial tax base, but, it was the old dirty industrial thing, and those types of jobs and businesses are gone now. Basically, we have a commercial and residential tax base. So taxation can be an issue, obviously, where tax dollars are coming either from the business or the homeowner. I believe that if you're going forward and you're looking at economic development in our city, and we can accommodate it, tech is the world. Everything in the world today, you look at all the advances, tech is involved. So, technology, I look at that. Maybe we couldn't get a company in right away, but one thing I'm looking at promoting, and I would like to get down to Vancouver this year, is working from home. A lot of tech industry now has young professionals that can and are working from home. Well, we just talked about it. You know what? For what they're paying for their basement suite with probably 2 windows in it in Vancouver, let's be honest, they can be into a decent house, middle of the road house in Cranbrook. So it's a great starter for them. So I certainly see that, going forward as a good start.
Cranbrook has certainly seen steady growth in recent years. What are some of the priorities at the moment when it comes to development and infrastructure?
Well, certainly housing. And then, what I was just talking about bringing people in, new workers or seniors for, I guess, lifestyle balance, certainly, I see that. I lost my thought there.
And the story that you shared about the family from Surrey, that was a wonderful story.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the issues we have right now is our housing supply, and that's across Canada, I think, pretty much right now. But certainly, if we're going to bring young professionals in, even from working from home. So if I went out and found somebody who was willing to bring 200 families in here, 200 jobs in here, we can't accommodate them right now because of the housing. So that is a priority. So it's changing. The market level housing is starting to take care of itself. It's correcting. So the contractors are taking care of that for us. But, the rentals. We need more affordable rentals, but I think we also need some rentals that maybe if they're the market rate, certainly for young professionals coming in that just want to have a look at the area before they buy, and work a year before they make a decision. It fits very well, but the city's focus on housing right now. We struck a housing task force about 1.5 years ago. And so, we looked at the housing continuum. And, when you're looking at low cost or affordable, the municipality, it's really tough to be in the game. You need to be subsidized. So the province has to play a role there. But certainly our role for Cranbrook, we may have some city property available where we can partner, and we want to focus on the middle kind of worker, so the low-income worker, so working families. I would love to see more of a co-op type system where we have a lot of lower wage level jobs. So our service industry, a lot of it right now, if you drive down the strip or go down the businesses in our downtown area, pretty well wherever there's more than 5 employees, they are minimum wage to $20, $22 an hour jobs. They're not going to ever get into a house. So both, you got 2 people in a household working at that, they still can't get in. So I would like to see a housing situation where Cranbrook can be part of it. Maybe we put in the land and we have a housing co-op where we will rent that to these people over the years, whatever the rent would be. And when they pay it off, we sign it over. They're going to have something at the end of the day when they're 65 or 70 years old. My biggest fear right now, and this is right across Canada with the rental, it's apart, and they're building rental. I don't think people are really understanding that's a quick fix for today, what's happening there. But what's going to happen when these people hit 65 and 70 years old? Because they have no assets, no pension plan. Where are they going? And they won't be able to afford that rent anymore because there's no income. We're going to have seniors on the street. So, I think the co-op thing is an answer, so that you have to work towards, getting them into their home. And I also think that, when they see an opportunity like that, they get in, they're going to be more aware and appreciative of it. So the caring of the property is going to be at a much higher level as well.
Completely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And especially for a lot of artists or contract workers. I'm a contract worker, and I'm not salaried. So I'm in a rental. And that's it. And if I tell you the Vancouver rental situation, someone was telling me that, I was paying $900, for an apartment and didn't want to share it. And I'm like, man, I'd love to, I would love to have that. What a dream to pay $900. What makes Cranbrook a unique place to live, not just for families, but also for young professionals? I know we've talked about it quite a bit, but I think personally for me, what stands out is the nature. And when I'm hearing from folks, whether it's rentals or also to purchase, certainly more affordable than Vancouver.
Yeah, we're probably one of the most affordable communities in the province. Certainly even in these Kootenays, we're probably we're the largest city, but we're probably the most affordable. So, there's that bonus there. I think anybody that comes to Cranbrook and, hopefully, we are number 1 in sunshine hours in British Columbia. So we have more sunshine hours than anybody else in British Columbia. So we also have the clear blue skies, which you can't beat a clear blue sky. I
think I heard the number. It was 2,200. Is that correct?
I'm not sure what it is.
Okay, it's something like that. And I said, that's incredible.
Yeah, we don't get the gray month or 2 or 3. Even in our winters, they're a little cooler. But you got a blue sky and you can dress for that. The humidity's not there. But certainly I think if you're here and you got a blue sky and you're anywhere in Cranbrook and you look out at the landscape and you look at the mountains, they're spectacular. We have mountains in all directions, and the Rocky Mountains, the Purcell Mountains, You'd always have to go to the Alps or something to compete with it. So we have that. I think certainly we have pretty well all the amenities, you know, that a large city. We don't have a Costco yet, but we're hoping. But, you know, certainly for activities, for youth, we have pretty well every program that you could get in a major city. It's going to take you one song on the radio to get your child from home to there it is. It's, you know, it's a short drive. So that's a bonus. Again, if you want an active, healthy lifestyle, you can't beat Cranbrook. You know, I look at biking, whether, you know, it's on a road, on trails, whatever. There's people that come, well, we're coming from the U.S., but right across Canada, but a lot of them out of the U.S., they come up here and they just come in on a route maybe they have and try it here. And I've heard nothing but the word spectacular. Yeah, so.
Thank you so much, sir.
Anytime, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. Thank you all for joining and for tuning in. This is On Location. Currently, we're here in Cranbrook. And once again, much gratitude to Mayor Wayne Price for his service, for his time today. I'm your host, Zara Durrani. The show is brought to you with the support of TELUS Story Hive, and I'll see you soon.